Good evening, how are we all this evening? Sorry, I was just juggling around everything, so I left you on the screen for a minute. It's actually live. I'm not like stressing because we're in the middle of the ocean and I can't see whether it's gone up or not. But I think it worked actually. So that's really handy to know that even any weeks that I can't do a live, I can still put something up for you to watch. So thank you for everybody that did watch that. But yes, we are back. We are back on terra firma. And as always, you come back from something like that where you've been around and about and seen so many different things and lots of different styles and colours and patterns and things like that. So it always invigorates the old creative juices, which is good, because sometimes I think you you start to get a little bit like bogged down in it. So to go out and also spending time with real people. I love you guys virtually, obviously, but there is something about seeing the look on people's faces when they achieve something. So that's why, for me, everybody sharing in the groups and the club and everything like that is so important, because it reminds us what we're all doing it for. So it's nice to be back, and please keep sharing. It's been lovely while we're away to see the makes that people have done on the tutorials that I filmed, because it just means that it's reaching people. I appreciate they're not up on YouTube yet, but they will be. I will get them up. They're on the laptop so I can upload them. But upload speeds from a ship aren't great. We did have Wi-Fi most of the time, so that wasn't too bad. But then as we came back, when we went to collect the dogs, because they stay with Jenny Mays and Becky Mays, the wonderful team behind Hobby Art, with the space we had in the car, which was a little bit limited because we had 2 cars full of craft kit, we squeezed in some more stamps. And me, being the patient person that I am, waited till today. I mean, you know, I've had them all of 4 days, so that's pretty good going. So I've uploaded them. The pictures, the images should be uploading as we speak, if I tap on the floor and remind him. But we have got more than I've put up, but I want to sort of drip feed them so that we can really look at the stamp sets. Tonight we're focusing on some DL ones. So they're on the website, they're the DL ones. Excuse me. I have also added the ones that I did. So the potting bench, Save Our Seas, and the frogs. The ones that were done prior to us going and during while we were going, they're up as well. But tonight we're going to focus on 4 sets. We're going to focus on Vintage Flowers, Summer Collection. I will look at these closely. Journal Scribble. Now I know there's a few people that are going to go, oh, I like that one. And then Flourishes. Okay, so there's 4 DL sets that we're going to focus on, and I'm hoping in the time that I've got tonight, because I am going to go for the full hour because I'm not having to upload it, I'm going to do 3 little panels for each, which we will then make up into a card. So shall we get cracking? So hello Kelly, Sue's watching. Right, so I'm going to go to that camera, to that, so we can have a look at each of these sets. So they're all DL. 3 of them are full of lots of smaller stamps, so you can see you're getting a lot of variety. Then Vintage Flower has got 2 huge stamps in it, and then Just a Note and From Me to You. So really nice generic greetings as well. And obviously they all do work together, and I will probably jump about the sets because I can't just limit myself. But they are all got plenty in them to get life out of them, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to sort of just jump straight in. I mean, just looking at this set, straight away you can see these little stamps. Little stamps like this are so handy, these honeycomb. And then if you look at this one, I mean, that crosshatch, how handy is that? That says enjoy life. And isn't that? But again, it's a greeting, but it's not, if you know what I mean. And then you've got these bits for extending flowers and stuff. So you've got lots to play with. But I'm going to start with Vintage Flowers. Okay. These are bigger ones, so I do need my bigger block. And to begin with, right, let me get my squares. So I've pre-cut all these squares. So I'm going to have 3 for this set. And first off, I'm going to, actually I did that one a minute ago, so that's got a little bit of ink on it. I'm going to go with this one. Apologies, my clear ink pad has had a divorce from its base. So I am going to break the golden rule, and I am going to take my stamp to the ink pad because I have no choice. Okay, and I'm also going to be incredibly organised and get myself a piece of paper. It's a piece of book. Oh no, I don't want to use that bit because that's got a really good image on it. Let's just have a bit of scrap paper. Scrap paper I had earlier. Where is it? Bit of scrap paper. That'll do. So, square. Now this image is obviously a lot bigger than the square I'm working with, but that is not an issue. What I can decide is to have it, if I plonk it right in the middle there, it might look a bit odd. It might look like I've misplaced it. So if I have it in the corner here, so we've still got plenty of interest, but it shows that it's a purposeful place. It's not like I've just picked a stamp that's too big. Okay. They are a great set of stamps, aren't they? So, and I'm going to quickly, because this ink pad has seen better days, put on my shopping list to get. I'm going on with clear. Okay. Now, the whole do you heat from above, do you heat from below debate on embossing powder. When you're embossing with maybe gold or something like that, and it's a fine line image, to be fair, it doesn't overly show whether you heat from above or heat from below. But this image, the lines are a little bit chunkier, and also the technique I'm about to do with it really needs the embossing powder to be super smooth. If you heat from above, the top of the embossing powder melts first before the powder underneath. So you get a more pitted look to your embossing powder, which is fine most of the time. But with the technique I'm about to do, I really need it to be super smooth. So I am going to heat from behind. And the way I always explain it is, if you're cooking a cake, you put it in the oven so that it heats from everywhere. Otherwise, if you put it under the grill, only the top is going to cook and the underneath will still be raw. And that is basically what happens with embossing powder. If you heat from above, you're going to melt the bottom first. Sorry, you're going to melt the top first, and the bottom might stay grainy. And when you're dealing with something that basically turns to a liquid when you're melting it, if the bottom is grainy, your embossing powder will take on a grainy appearance. But I say most of the time it wouldn't matter. But on this particular technique, I need that to be smooth because I want colour to flow off this. I'm going to do a faux batik look. The other nice thing with this one, if you overheat embossing powder, it spreads out and sinks into your paper. With this one, it doesn't matter, because that's quite often what happens when you heat from below, because you're struggling to see, particularly clear on white. You might overheat it, but for this technique, it doesn't overly matter. Right. Now, because this might curl up, I'm actually going to do something I very rarely do. I'm going to tape this down. Now, I have come back the same person, but also it's going to help give me a crisp edge. So I'm even going to line it up on my cutting mat. Who's this and what have you done with Ali? I know. So I'm going to mask this off. It will give me a white border as well, and it will hold this down. Well, if I put enough masking tape on it. Masking tape's not overly sticky. It's almost like it's old and very rarely used. I mean, shocker. me taping something down. That really is old masking tape. Must have a new roll somewhere. Right, it'll do. Right, so I've now got some colour spray here. And I am just going to take a couple of drops. This is quite concentrate, and I'm going to do it sort of from a height. And you can see where the embossing powder is, it is flowing away. Okay, so I'm taking my mica straight out in a little pipette and flicking the pipette everywhere. And I was going to be really good and have a different pipette for each colour. So I've not even shaken these up because I don't need to, because I'm not trying to spray them. Let the colour touch each other. Just let it flow. And I want some yellow as well. Now this is best if you let this dry and let this all soak in. But obviously time is of the essence. And also you can let each, if you don't want the blending like I'm getting here, you can let each layer dry before you put the next colour on, just like you would with paint. Right, I'm going to leave that for a second so that some of this colour spreads in and sort of soaks in, because if I cheat and take the colour away with some tissue or something, I am going to lose some of the intensity. The other thing to do is to help it spread is chuck in some water as well. And you can see it all flowing, and this is where you're going to start to get some really nice colours. And so I don't waste that colour, if I take another one of my panels and plop it on the top, we can grab some of that colour. Might do another one as well, and then this set's all going to match, aren't they? Okay, I'm not worried about the backs of these. And you can see that the embossing powder is acting as a... I know, Maria, it's odd, isn't it? Amazing. Right, if you can let this dry naturally, your colours would be more intense. But you can see that the colour can't go where the embossing powder is, so you get this lovely batik effect. And because my masking tape was so outstandingly sticky and not been sitting on that roll for 3 years, obviously I got a nice crisp line around the edge, but it doesn't matter. So that's our first one, and I am going to mop up these colours because I cleaned my cutting mat as well. Look at that for turning over a new leaf. Right, so that's our first panel, and then these ones we're going to do something else with. So I'm just going to give this a quick dry. Again, I do prefer things to dry naturally because you get such much more interesting patterns, because you're not forcing the colour around and you're giving it a chance to settle. And as I've cut these out with a die that does the faux stitched edge, it does sort of pick up. But actually for that one it doesn't overly matter. So would help if my finger, look at that, she's touched it with dirty fingers. Okay, so let's have one of the other flowers. I'm going to stamp this whole just so you can see how beautiful this is, but I'm not going to use all of it. So I'm going to grab the other big flower, and I'm going to also grab my VersaFine Claire. Shall we go for Misty Morn? No, we'll go for Fallen Leaves. Okay. And just looking at the time, I'm going to have to get a wiggle on if I'm going to do 4 stamp sets. So I'm just going to stamp this whole, just so you can see how beautiful it is. So if you like your colouring, this is a great one. I mean, just look at that. Isn't it absolutely beautiful? So I'm going to cut out a section of that, so I've got the sort of white design against the colour. And then on this next one, I'm just going to keep it fairly simple. And I'm going to put this again sort of off at a bit of an angle. And I don't know, I want to intensify the colour a little bit there. So could paint it in with something, or I could, where's my Wink of, Paul had never heard of Wink of Stella pens, which was a bit of a shocker we discovered. I am going to emboss this a second, hoping it's not going to cling to everything. Might do. Oh no, that's okay, because I want to create a little bit of a dam. And for speed, I am going to do this from above. And then I'm just going to do like a little mica wash across and make this sparkle. No, I missed a bit. So Wink of Stella, if you haven't heard of them, are pens that have a mica-y shimmer to them, but they're like water brushes, so they're really, really easy to use. But we were talking about them on Saturday, and Paul had never heard of them. And I'm like, but I have some. Goes to show how much notice he pays when I'm talking about stuff. Okay, so I am actually going to use a bit of this gold ink to paint with. It is a calligraphy ink. So if I just want to add a hint of gold to this. And again, because I have embossed this, I can be quite heavy-handed, because I'll be able to just wipe it off in a minute where it's sitting on the embossing. But I just think this, when you do it in these sort of colours, I'm getting a real Indian vibe, you know, the beautiful sari silk kind of colours. And with the gold, I just think that looks really, and it's just nice to do things sort of in the opposite way to what you normally expect. So normally we would do the gold embossing, but this time we've done the embossing in clear. So I'm just going to give this a little buff. So you see, as I'm buffing it, you need to let the gold sink in a little bit. But if you buff it, you see how it's coming off the embossing and then making that stand out. Then we've got that one, and then the final one is I'm just going to cut out a little bit of this one and put over the corner. And I had also started cutting it out on an inky background, so I could either do the black and white version or the colour version. I think I might go for the colour version. So that's that set played with very, very briefly. But you can see just in that short space of time, I've changed my mind 7 times. So you can see that's the great thing with a nice set of stamps, is it sparks the imagination. It makes you want to try different things. Or I could combine the two. Let's quickly cut this out because I only want this little bit. It is quite a nice, easy one to cut out. It shouldn't take me too long. And again, this is something you can do if you mess up stamping. You know, you don't have to use a whole image. There's always... The other thing with this one is because it's got distinct layers, you could decoupage this. You could cut them out and then really turn them. I was also looking and thinking how lovely it would be stamped on fabric and cut out. Maybe put some Bonder web or something like that on the back, and then you could iron it. And obviously, if you are good at sewing, which we all know I'm not, you could embroider this. This is what I love about stamps, is there are so many different ways. So that's having the black and white version, and then that's the colour version. And actually, I think the two together is really striking. So I'm going to quickly get this glued onto here so I can trim off, and then that's the next set done. Right, here we go. Move quickly, move quickly. Yeah, I think that's quite nice. And then with that gold one as well, let's turn it over, snip these off. This might be a 2-week, play. I just think, you know, you can see how easy this is to build up. This one is now actually starting to look a bit boring. But again, you could pick out bits from here. But I think together we've got a nice little set for that stamp set there. Right, so that's vintage flowers. Okay, clear the decks, pop that somewhere safe in my pile to come back to, not today. And we will move to the next set. And the next set in the pile, and I'm going random, so I don't know, is, she says I won't random, but I just, is the Scribble Journal one. Journal Scribble. Get it round the right way. Journal Scribble. Right, so we want it, our 3 panels. 1, 2, 3. And let's, so this one I only need my small block. So first of all, let's get some colour on one of these panels. We've got Spiced Pumpkin, Fired Brick. Okay. So a bit of ink on your acrylic block. Just get a little bit of colour. I'm going to do all, again, I'm probably going to do all 3 in the same sort of colourway. Just so that we can create something a bit cohesive. Other words that don't fit with me. Cohesive. Okay. Nope. Oh, don't like that straight edge. Right. Then, most important, dry your acrylic block before you put any stamps on it. Right, give them a quick... This card does soak up the colour quite quickly, so I shouldn't have to do too much drying. And I'm using Distress ink for a reason, because of one of the techniques I want to do in a second. Won't dry that one fully because I don't need it yet. Right, so let's grab a couple of these stamps. I really like this big open flower here. So let's have that one first. I'm going in with the Misty Morn. Morning Mist. I'm going to do a little flower there. Little flower there. And then I'm going to take that off and I'm going to fill in with some of these little bits. Look at these little bits that you just are so handy. Where's that crosshatch? These are the sorts of stamps that you just grab time and time again. They're just so handy. And this set is full of them. I mean, that is a flower middle, but it's also a snowflake. You've got your butterfly. You've got the faux stitching. Let's just do a little bit of that around the edge. I mean, again, this is one of those ones. So if you're a journaler, that would make such a fabulous line for you to journal onto. And I think, you know, as simple as this, one colour and then a little bit of sort of collage-y stamping. You've got a really nice little panel there. These are the sorts of ones I would use on my Waste Not, Want Nots a lot as well. So, this one. I do want this, I was going to emboss this. Might do it a different way because that's still a bit wet. So I'm going to take this bold flower. So it's this one from the corner here. Let me put that on some white so you can see which ones I'm grabbing from the set. I also like this one. I think that into ultra thick embossing would be just fabulous. It's like a wax seal, isn't it? Right. I do need to just quickly ink a piece of scrap card. Where's my piece? Right, my brain is still... The problem with the cruise we've just done was we skipped between Portugal and Spain a little bit. So we did Spain, which is 1 hour in front. Then we did 2 Portugal stops, which is exact same time as the UK. Then we went back to Spain, which is 1 hour in front. We might even have done it. We might have even scoped into no, that was it. We did Portugal, then back to Spain, then back to Portugal, and it's like we changed times so many times, and I'm not sure my brain's caught up yet. Right, so let's just add a bit of. Was this the colour we used? Okay. So I'm going to stamp this. No, I'm not going to stamp that. I'm going to do it on here. This might go badly wrong. We're going to hopefully, because I haven't got my corn flour here, which I don't think I have, or talcum powder. I might get embossing powder where I don't want it, but we will see. Embossing powder, embossing powder. Moment of truth. Oh, not too bad at all. But that one's got it on fully. So I'm going to heat this. So this is just going to add like a glazed look in the background. Quite hard in this light to see if I've got that all. So this will catch the light and get a shine. And then the next one I'm going to do, hopefully can see that enough for what I want to do, is I'm going to stamp in a colour. And I'm going to come in with, I think I'll come in with quite a dark colour, so that this will really show up. So over stamp quickly with your embossing powder. So VersaFine Clair does stay damp long enough for you to do embossing powder if you don't dilly-dally. Okay, what am I doing for time? Oh, we're cooking on gas. Right, so that's a bit easier for me to see and for you to see, but I should be able to see enough of the pale one as well, because I want to have like a ghostly image in the in the background. Right, water brush. So get that flowing, and I'm going to pour some water into the petals, and this is why I needed to use Distress ink. Because when you re-wet Distress ink, it will reactivate, which means when I then come in with a piece of tissue, it takes some of the colour away. So it's fading that one into the background a little bit. And what I want to try and do is also to this one. It's a little bit harder to see because it's clear, but if I brush some water onto there and then count to 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then dab away. Can you see it's just taken a little bit of the colour away and just making that more of a not a ghostly figure, a faded, a more ethereal feel to it. And you do this to all your petals. The longer you leave the water there, the more colour it will actually take away. And it just gives you, just with one colour of ink pad, see, we've created these different tones. So that's panel 2 for this one. And what should we do with this one? I've got clear embossing powder on there. Let's just try. Gonna get this stamp ready. So I'm going to ink it up with VersaFine Clair. I'm going to melt this embossing powder and build it up a little bit. So for triple embossing, you would normally not use a colour. Sorry, you'd use a colour, not clear. But as I happen to have that embossing powder there, ready to go, it seemed a shame not to use it. And I just think this might give a nice little seal to go on this last panel. So you can see how it's getting thicker. If you're not happy doing what I'm doing, which is pouring more powder on while it's still warm, you don't have to. You can re-ink in between layers. But you'd obviously have to use your clear ink for that one. Starting to get nice and thick. I think I'm going to do one more layer because I want it nice and thick. Just in the middle. I don't need the whole thing to be. Right, there we go. So while it's nice and warm and soft, I'm going to take this stamp and press it in. And I always say this, but when you're pressing into ultra thick or triple embossing, the temptation is to press really firmly. But actually you don't need to, because it is a liquid. And if you press too firmly into it, what will happen is it'll all slip off, and you don't want that. You're pressing into a liquid. So just let the weight of the acrylic block hold it. And then you've got that nice sort of shiny seal effect. I'm going to just quickly cut this out, and I'm going to... But also this glazing is really nice for some of your flowers as well. You know, glaze them so that they're nice and shiny. Also gives them a natural sort of curve as well. So we're going to add that little seal, but I think that panel needs something else. So let's create a little torn panel to go in the middle there. So quick, another piece of card. Oh look, new roll of masking tape. Knew I had one. So I want a little white panel so that our little seal there can hold it in place like that. And I want to make that look like it's got some writing on it or something. So I think I'm going to use this fabulous Curly Wurly stamp, and then also that beautiful greeting. So bring my little panel back in, and I've just moved on to a piece of paper so that if I stamp over the edge, I'm not stamping onto my cutting mat that I've beautifully cleaned. So you can see it's just such a lovely little sort of faux writing, decorative edge. I'm also probably going to do this around, while I've got it on, I'm going to do it round the panel as well, because I really like that sort of finishing them off. There we go. And if you are worried about getting it perfectly straight, line it up on the edge of your acrylic block. But I like that sort of freehand idea. And again, if you don't want them crossing over, just mask it off with a bit of paper. So there's our little seal that's going to go in there. So now I want that fabulous words. I might not, because of the size of the panel I'm working on, it might not all fit on, but we'll get enough. Take it off there. Isn't that lovely? Let me stamp it on the piece of paper so you can see it. Isn't it beautiful? Just I think along the bottom of a card or something. So there's that panel. So let's quickly glue that onto there. There we go. Add our little seal to that. And we've got another panel. And I might just add something See, I'm thinking now, so, you know, I was trying to keep these that each set was going to have its own little set of 3. But this one, I think, would benefit from having an edge to it. So I'm going to come in with this lovely sentiment and just stamp that. And I think that's going to finish that one off. It doesn't, you know, there's nothing wrong with going back and adding more. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you're not happy with it, add something else to it. Okay, and it just gives it that little... I mean, I am going to map these in a minute as well. Do we want an edge on that one? No, move on. Move on to another set. You know, I'm going to come back and do that, don't you? Right, so that's 6 little panels done. And I've barely touched any stamps in that set. You know this stamp set is going to get used so many times. There is so many lovely little stamps in there that you would just use time and time again. You know, so many handy little ones that just extra leaves. These beautiful stamps, they're just, you know, you just know that one's going to get used so many times. Right, that one goes there. Okay, next. This is another one that's got so many useful stamps in. So this is like nice little flowery set. So we've got nice bold silhouette flowers as well, so that you can build your scenes up. But if you think seasonal, you've got your poppies, which we know are lovely all year round, very summery. But then you've got this kind of harvest festival, nice, very much this time of the year. And then we've got the fabulous little bees and their honeycomb. But just look at this little stamp here. Again, that's one of those ones that you're going to use, you know, when you just want something to fill in the gap. Right, so let's get some panels done for this one. And then probably we won't get on to the last set. We might have to save that for next week. Right. So let's get 3 panels. And let's think, how should we do this? I mean, we could just splot, let's just ink them. Let's keep it fairly simple. Where's this? Let's do a couple of different sort of inky ideas. So and then get the other side of it, cover up that one, and let's come in. So we're getting a sort of sunset feel. Okay. So kind of quite marked border of where the colours are. The next one we'll just do a little bit more blending with it. So we're going to start at the top here with the orange and really saturate it with the ink so that when we come with the red and we start from the bottom, as we come to the middle there, there's enough ink for it to start to blend together. Okay. So you just get a very different look. That's very sort of landscape. There's the edge, there's the knot. And then this one, let's do the blend, but let's go outwards. So let's do a big, bold bit of orange in the middle. And then again with the red, always start away from it, so you're not going to suddenly get a big blob of red in the middle. And I'm purposefully loading these up with loads of ink because I want to. Right, so those two are going to have something done. to get them out of the way a minute. Let's grab some stamps. Keep it nice and... I'm trying to grab them off the acetate. Right. I really like this. I think it's really unusual to have sort of the grasses celebrated as much as they are in this set. So I'm going to work on a bit of scrap paper again so I'm not stamping onto my mat too much, because the chances are I'm going to go, and I think I'm just going to do a very simple stamp of that one there. Just, it's lovely. Now we have got these other little bits. So if you want to have a bit of interest going on down here, just use something like this. Just to create a little sort of edge, so that it doesn't look like it's totally sticking out on its own. We've just got a little bit. And then I think we need to have the bee. And obviously his trail. Which trail do we want? I think we'll have this one. No, the really curly one. He's flown about all over the place. Just nice and simple. Okay. This one. Right. I'll just put my trail back in. I'm trying to be really good and put my stamps back where they're supposed to be. Okay, I think on this one, I'm going to get some tissue. And I'm going to wet it. Okay, not too wet. And then I'm going to press my stamp into it, so that my stamp is now wet. Bring my stamp, press and count 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And pull away. Might have been a bit too dry. Right, so I'm going to wet my... You need your tissue really, really wet. And because I'm using tissue, let's get a real bit of pool of water on there. If you've got your blank ink pads, they're even better because they'll hold the water better, but I think that's got it this time. I can see it moving. Lift away. Can you see that image? I don't know if you can. It's probably not the best colours. Let me just dry it, because drying it always intensifies it. Tell you what stamp will make this show up even better. It's what I want, but it doesn't show up brilliantly for you. So let's go with the honeycomb, because this is a bit of a bolder stamp, so you will see this more. Or that one. Let me do that one. Let me do this one. So get that really wet again. I say the blank ink pads are perfect for this. That's it. It's holding a bit more water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's better. You can see that that's pulled that colour away. Okay, and I'm going to just do the honeycomb in the corner as well so you can see it. So you can just see that lovely sort of honeycomb. So what this is doing is fading these out in the background. So we're going to have that sort of classic layered into the distance look. So I'm going to go back to those two flower stamps that I had. This is why I'm trying so hard to put my stamps away. Right, that goes there, that goes there. So, this is our main foreground stamp. And I'm just stamping in roughly where the sort of highlighty, faded out one is. Okay. And then just a hint of them. Don't need much of them. Just that second, third generation. And then the last one is this one. Now, if I stamp this as bold as that, it's going to add no dimension to this. It's just going to be flat. So I'm actually going to lightly dab off and then bring this one in. And you see how it pushes that back into the background. Because if I'd have stamped it like that, it's way too bold. So I'm just going to do very faded out. And also, if you just need some little bits, take your stamp off the acrylic block and then you can just lift and just add extra leaves and things like that without stamping the main image. So pull it up and press, and then you'll just get like these faded out stalks, which just add a little bit of undergrowth. So there's that one. Right, also don't leave your wet tissue on top of your other piece of paper card that you were doing, but actually I kind of like it, and I am running out of time, so yes, that wasn't intentional, and that's also why I thought, where's that colour coming from? That's also why I try hard not to use tissue and use my blank ink pads. But you can see we're getting a really nice little set again here of these. So this one I'm just going to do, I haven't done the poppy. I know we can't fit it all on here, but let's do this one. Nice. I'm actually going to go sort of diagonally, which doesn't really fit with the others, but when you see the card that we're going to do in a second, this does sort of work. And then on this one, I'm going to intensify the red on the poppy. So wherever my water brush has gone, there, I'm going to pick up some of that red. Let's get it nice and strong and sort of add more colour to that. If I'd got my coloured pencils, no, I haven't got a red there. Just, I mean, it's quite a strong colour anyway, but I could build it. I'm going to go in more directly. If I'd got my pens or your pencils or something, you can just start to build up the colour and add a stronger. So instead of fading out, you're building this up. It can sometimes take a little bit because obviously you're using a water brush, but you can see it's gradually starting to build up. And it's not a bad thing to build it up slowly because you can't sort of overdo it. But sometimes you think, is it actually changing? But it is. It's just starting. Can you see that that pop is starting to come forward? So build that up. And just make him stand out by being a slightly stronger colour. You can also do the reverse by adding white around the outside or using the water brush to take the colour around, take the colour away from behind it. I think that's, you know, it's a very different look to the where we took the colour away, but it does the same job. It intensifies the focal point. Right. Okay, so we haven't done all the sets, but I do want to get the card done. So put that set. I think we'll be coming back to these sets time and time again, just because in the 20 minutes I've given, the 15 minutes I've given each of them is not enough time to really show you how fabulous they are. I mean, I've barely stamped any of the stamps in the set. They are beautiful, aren't they, poppies? And, you know, they have such different meanings for people. But I love the fact that they'll grow. Doesn't matter how scruffy the pile of earth is, poppies will find their way. And we get some really beautiful ones around here on the business park. Right, I need some squares of card. Haven't got my trimmer here. Haven't got anything to measure. So they're all A4. Also need to buy a new pack of black card because I don't know where I've put it. So how do we square off? We take one sheet, turn it 90 degrees, line it up in the corner, and then do a little, either a crease or draw a line. I'm going to draw a line because it's black card, and so I'm just going to grab a pencil, do a line there, flick it, and do the line there. And then that will give me 2 squares. 2 squares will do for now because I've already got one cut. And that will work with any pieces of card that you've got that are the same size. It means, because the other way obviously of doing a square from a rectangle is to fold the corners over, but sometimes you don't want those creases in it. And on this particular card, I don't want that crease in. So doing it this way means that I'm not going to get a crease where I don't want it. I'm now going to fold my pieces of card in half one way and in half the other way. Okay. And I'm going to do that to each of them. In half the other way. These are 2 different types of black card because they feel very different, but that doesn't matter. In half the other way. Right. Now, you might be thinking, why did she fold these into 4 when she's only got 3 of each square? Because we are going to bring that up to create a little corner. Okay, so we've just cut one of those, and then what we do is fold that in so it's not in the way, and then fold diagonally. So we do need a diagonal, but we only need it on one section, and then fold it back on itself so that this all folds up into a square like that. So a bit of glue on there. So when it's open, it's like a little box, but when it's folded flat, it folds flat. So cut, fold in, and then you can just sort of do it like that if you're confident. As long as you're only putting the triangle onto that one panel, the floor of your card. And then these can all be joined together like this so that it'll open up. If you do the 4 sections that I was going to do, you can have a full 360, which is really nice for when you've got stamps like this, because you can do like the seasons. You could have each section have a different season, and you know, and you've got those stamps there that would allow you to do that. So fold. Oh, that's a lot thicker, that black card. This one's not going to be quite as neat. So we've got our sections, so they get joined back to back like that, so that it opens up. So when it's shut like that, and then it opens up, and you've got these. So now it's just a case of starting to put our panels in. Now this one at the bottom here does need to be cut diagonally. Also, I've cut my squares a lot smaller than they needed to be. So I'm going to cut that one diagonally and put that one in here. I'm going to grab my glue. Where's my glue stick? That's going to be quicker. So just, actually it's not too bad. I thought they looked a lot smaller. But you could matte and layer them again. You could go with a white layer before the black would be quite good. So, and then for this section, these go in. Just line them up nice and straight. Do as I say, not as I do. Into there. And see, this is the joy of doing this right at the end of the Facebook Live, because I can then just close it up and photograph it tomorrow when it's all stuck. So you can see you've got your little sections. So this one, oh, I don't know which one I want to cut diagonally. It was originally going to be that one. I might have to make another section because I don't want to cut any of those up. Oh, that's a slight problem. But we'll just, I will cut one up, but just not yet. I just like them all as they are. So maybe I'll just cut a bit of that up. Then I don't have to spoil one of them. So just in, I'm probably going to peel these off and put a bit of white behind them because I think that will really set them off. Let me show you what it looked like with a bit of white behind them. Oh, I'm looking at the time. It's going to be quick. It's going to be quick. I might do that a bit later and show you tomorrow because I just think, let me peel those off before the glue grabs. I think a little bit of white and I can cut this properly behind there. A slightly finer border than that, I think. But I think that's going to look nicer. So I will do that. I won't stick these all in. I might peel those ones out. They've got a bit more white in them, so that might not need it. But I'll get these matted up properly. Now, this is the only time, I mean, especially that one, I don't want to cut that. See, again, that was one that evolved. And this is what I love about stamps like this, is you can just sit and play, and also giving yourself little squares to work on. I know we quite often do bigger pieces and then cut them up, but sometimes do the reverse. Start with the little pieces so you're not looking at the flower as a whole. I'm going to just whip these out. Oh no, glue's grabbed. Of course it has. It's nice sometimes to work on smaller pieces. It's less intimidating. So just, you can then focus in on a little bit, but it's just really nice to sort of have a play. And we've kept to a fairly good theme, colour theme as well. But yes, I will mat these up. I will probably cut something like this up to go on the bottom. Maybe add some more of the journal scribble stamps into them. Yeah, I know, less is more. Who knew I could do that as well? Honestly, I think I left myself on the ship. So, hang on, bear with me. Hi. So yeah, it's really exciting to be playing with stamps again. And these are stamps that I've, you know, as soon as Jenny showed me them, it's like, oh, ideas were popping. You wait till you see nuts and bolts. That's going to have a whole Facebook Live on its own. So it's really lovely to get something that just straight away, as soon as you look at it, 100 ideas pop into your head. This one we've just been working with, the summer collection, I really, really want to stamp them and then run over them with the stalks with my sewing machine and add some stitching elements to them, or stamping onto fabric and stuff like that. I just think it's got a really lovely, lovely look to it. Monochrome, and just, there's so many ideas with these, and the fact that they all do sort of, even though there can be slightly different styles, that, you know, you can mix and match them. And with the journals and stuff, those flowers just along the bottom would just look so beautiful. So I think we'll probably be revisiting these stamp sets quite a lot, But all of these are on the website now, and hopefully the images are there if Paul has got them done. But it's lovely to be back live with you, and I say I'll get this finished. I've got a big bookbinding workshop at the weekend, so it might not, and then a glass fusing on Sunday. You know, nothing like coming back to hit the ground running and all of that. So I'll get them done as quick as I can and get it finished and up on for you to see. I'll get this downloaded and up onto YouTube, as well as the last 2 weeks. I've also hinted to Paul that I might want a kit that will help you make the penny roller cards. Maybe a cutting guide out of MDF, and maybe some little spacers so that you don't have to do the dodgy thing with the foam tape and stuff like that. You know, I sort of hinted at it, mentioned it to Jenny as well, so she hinted it at him as well. So roller card, hopefully we will get a kit to help you do that, because I just think they're such a fabulous card, and it's such a shame. And if anybody knows Hobby Art stamps, the Brussels sprouts, we will be getting the Brussels sprouts, but there's so many stamps, we're not taking them all in one go. We're going to gradually introduce the range, but we will be having the Brussels sprouts. So I hope you all enjoyed that, and I will be back same time next week, live again. But in the meantime, the reason I'm so in case you're wondering why I've got black hands, I also did the workshop for the club this afternoon as well. So if you haven't joined the club and you want to do even more stuff like this and have free resources and have a 2-hour workshop every month, join the club. It's on the website. But in the meantime, have a play, get creative, and please, please, please share your makes so that other people can see exactly what you can do. But I still haven't got Paul to do my new still, so we're going to have to end with this one. Subtle hint. But I will see you same time, same place next week. Take care.